Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello, and welcome back to Previously on Teen TV. I'm Jillian Benani.
And I'm Claire Wojciechowski.
It's the episode you have all been waiting for. We are fresh off our watch of Outer Banks Season 4, Part 2. The tears have dried up, and we are ready to dive into it. How are you feeling, Claire?
You know, I'm a little shaken still.
Yes.
I'm processing it, but I'm happy to be here discussing this and talking about it with you.
I'm excited to dive into it because there is a lot to talk about.
I mean, the finale was a feature-length episode alone. So.
I know. So we have a lot to discuss. Claire, remind us what happened this season, because honestly, all I remember is the ending.
Happily. So we pick up right where part 1 left off. Pope and Sarah are trapped in the catacombs. Cleo and John B quickly save them. They head back to OBX. The Pogues learn that the Kooks are planning to rezone Pogelandia and take it from them, and that Luke Maybank, the father that raised JJ, is the one who made it all possible. JJ is reeling from this revelation. He's reeling from the revelation that Luke is not his actual father, that he's a Genret, and he spirals, causes a lot of property damage, fights with cops, and essentially is on the run as a fugitive. Pope tries to jump in and protect him. He kind of attacks a cop, also gets arrested, has to wear an ankle monitor, then rips off the ankle monitor, making Pope also a fugitive.
A lot of fugitives this season.
Lots. We're really on the run from the law once again in season 4, part 2. Chandler Groff, JJ's biological father, convinces JJ to help him find the Blue Crown. He's trying to get on his good side, but it turns out he is a full-on sociopath, an evil like we've never seen before.
Insane.
He attacks Key. He tries to kill JJ. Rafe then learns that Groff double-crossed him with this Goat Island deal, so he convinces Sheriff Shoop to let the Pogues go free and go to Morocco in pursuit of Groff. So they hop on a boat to Morocco with Rafe, and they're trying to find this Blue Crown, racing against the Lupine Corsairs, who are still in pursuit of the crown, and Groff as well, and tragedy ensues.
Wow. I mean, what a part 2.
So much happens.
So much happens. Like, I feel like between part 1 and part 2, like, we have never had this much happen before in Outer Banks.
No, and I feel like it's a clear division of, like, part 2 is different tonally. It looks different in a lot of ways, I think. It's just almost like a separate season of the show.
I know. And I gotta say, like, I did like part 1 more. I think that Outer Banks loses me a little bit sometimes when they focus just so much on the treasure. And that's like, I feel like that's all that it's about, and we lose the camaraderie of the Pogues together. Like, why are we not having scenes of them all together? Like, it just makes me annoyed. Like, I don't need this, like, side thing with Pope maybe going into the military. Like, just get everybody together, get everybody rallying around JJ. Like, overall, I think this season was really great. Probably my favorite season since season 1.
I think so, too.
I think I missed, you know, some of that Pogue camaraderie in part 2.
Yeah, I think we definitely have that in part 1, like you said. In part 2, because of the nature of the story that they're trying to tell, I think the way that they structured it is obviously very purposeful to build to the finale. And because of that, you kind of have to separate them out because we're getting these very specific storylines that need more time to grow in their own little silos before they can intersect.
Overall, though, I like that this season that, you know, the Pogues grew up a little bit. Like, I don't mind that they're 19 acting like 30-year-olds. Like, I kind of liked it this season. I just feel like we saw a little bit more of a grown-up and, like, darker side to them a little bit, which I really like this season.
Yeah, for me, I think this was one of my favorites because it, like you said, it has like the sort of fun, like Pogues all together, Pogues against the world attitude that season 1 had. But it does have the adult stuff coming in. There's a lot of very serious things. Like now, like when JJ and Pope get arrested, they're not minors anymore. They're going to actual prison. And as opposed to juvie, I don't know.
I'm just picturing them in prison.
I mean, John B was there in season 2, but still, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's they can't just have like someone swoop in and like be like, oh, they're just kids. Like this is very serious stuff that's going on. There's other very serious adult things that they're dealing with that we haven't even touched on yet. So I did appreciate that, like, and also these actors are in their 20s. Like let's let them play adult storylines within this sort of like fantastical world.
Yeah, I think that this season really brought a lot of drama and storylines more so than what we get. Like, I really did love in part 2 that we started off right away with the flashback of like what happened to JJ as a baby. And I'm sorry, we need to talk about Luke's beaded necklace in that flashback. Luke was giving some puka shell necklace. They were doing that early 2000s beaded necklace on Luke, and I was loving it. I was like, okay, Luke. So I love that we started off part 2 in that way. Like, we're getting into this right away. We're telling you guys what happened. I like that they did a flashback with that instead of just telling us. They were able to show it. And I just really loved that we got this full backstory of what happened with JJ. Like, I just needed that in this show.
Yeah, I think we need to know how he got there and why Luke feels this way. And I think that also seeing him like be a little kinder as a young person, like makes what happens all the more cruel, because you see where Luke is now, where he ends up, and how his relationship with JJ deteriorates from him being very compassionate and like loving as a father when JJ was a baby.
Yeah, that was like a little jarring. I was like, oh, okay, you're really laying on the like, he was so good back then.
Right. And now I'm like, how did Luke get to where he is now? Which we don't really need, but I'm just like, I guess that in a way it created more questions than answers for me.
I know. I kind of wanted more. Like, I was like, I like that flashback. So I'm like, give me a little bit more of what exactly happened. Like, and how did the mom die? Like, show me. I mean, they showed that a little bit, but I think I just like wanted a little bit more of like a story with that, honestly.
Yeah, I think it was a bit yada yada, because they're like, well, it doesn't really matter for like where we're going to end up. Like, it's just, ancillary, I guess, those details.
Well, it matters to me. Well, I need to know these things. I don't need to know. I don't know. I don't need to know 900 facts about this blue crown. I need to know where JJ came from.
I don't need more of the Lupine Corsairs on a boat talking about their boss.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I know.
All I need to know is that you are in pursuit of this treasure. I don't really care why. We don't need scenes with Dahlia and Leitner on this boat. Like, give us more of the backstory of JJ and Luke and what happened there.
Well, and I wanted a little bit more backstory with Groff, because I'm like, why are you so awful? Like, what is your motivation this entire time? Like, is it just the property? Did you ever love JJ's mom? Like, I just wanted a little bit more of like that relationship and how everything turned so bad and so dark.
And I read an interview that the creators did with like Tadum, the Netflix, outlet, and they said they wanted to make a character that was a full-on sociopath. So I guess in that, because he is that, he doesn't necessarily need motivation, because he just lacks empathy. So I would guess that his, he just has always wanted to social climb. Like, they talk about he came from the cut, and then he married wealthy, and then he went off and was constantly doing all these nefarious things overseas that got him into trouble. So he's just like I guess like a conscience-less social climber, but that's something that I learned by reading after the fact. It wasn't really shown to us.
Yeah, I think that they needed to show a little bit more about that. But I mean, it is like pretty clear the man is just sociopathic crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a new bad dad, the worst dad.
The king of the bad dads. We thought we had seen some bad dads on this show, and Groff just like puts them all to shame.
Okay, rate the bad dads. Ward, Big John, Groff, throw Luke in there too. I mean, he raised JJ.
I mean, Groff is the worst.
Yeah.
The baddest dad.
Yeah.
And then I would say Ward, because he tries to kill his own child.
Yeah.
And John B. And also does kill other people.
That's true. He's a killer.
Then I'm going to go with Luke. Physically and emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
Sells
bad.
out his own son for money. I mean, again, the son he raised, not blood, but sells him out for the money from the property.
Yeah.
And then Big John, not a great dad, but I think he did love John B. and he tried.
Yeah.
He was just very blinded by his own greed.
Yeah. I think that was a good rating. That worked out well. I love when John B said something like, geez, I thought I had a bad dad.
Yeah.
That was great. All right. Well, let's talk about some of the major storylines that we got from this season. I mean, we got to talk about this pregnancy, which I will say fans saw this coming. I saw some fan theories where they're like, oh my God, they're going to do a pregnancy storyline. And they were completely right. At first, I was like, no way are we doing that.
I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but I wasn't surprised by it.
Yeah.
Because they talk about it in season 3 where, Big John is like, she's not pregnant, is she? And John B's like, no, like,
yeah,
we don't have time for that or whatever he says. But, but then part 2, it becomes pretty obvious. Like, she's acting weird. And it's like, oh, well, whenever a woman is acting weird, she must be hiding a baby. We get
classic teen drama trope.
When she's like distracted and they're like, what? Nothing. Never mind. Like, it's that kind of shit.
I'm okay. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm good. Like, it's like, okay, girl, something's going on.
Yeah.
I do just think, though, what annoyed me about that storyline is, like, it's 2024. Can we please, like, I just think that there needed to be a conversation about choices. Mm-hmm. And I think that the show did a disservice with that. Like, they already had a scene with her and Key. They could have had a great conversation of just like, do you want this? Like, you do have choices. Mm-hmm. It's 2024. I'm tired of these shows not putting that in these storylines. If you're going to do a pregnancy storyline, you just need something like that nowadays, I think.
Well, and I really thought they were going to, because Key is sort of the most socially conscious character of them all. She's the one who would consider this and rights and things like that. And when she's having that conversation, Sarah's like, say something good. Yeah. And Key says, well, the good news is, and I thought she was going to say, John B loves you and will support you no matter what.
Yeah.
And that would have been like something.
Yeah.
But instead she says, you're going to be a great mom. Without even asking if she's going to wants to have this baby. I'm like, what are we doing?
It was crazy to me. I was like, you had it right there.
Right?
It was so easy to be able to do it. And you didn't do it.
Yeah, you didn't even have to make it explicit. Like, if you're worried about alienating an audience, fine. But you could have acknowledged that there was another option besides Sarah and John B being parents at 19.
Like, they're poor. They have no money. They keep talking about how they have no money. And then we're all just smiling and happy about this baby.
Right.
Like I just felt like you could have had a really good conversation there.
Well, and even in part 1, when John B's like, I just want to settle down and be with you and have kids. And Sarah's like, whoa, I'm only 19. We've got plenty of time for that.
And then 2 days later, she's pregnant. No time had really passed.
I mean, I get that maybe she didn't realize it, but for her opinion on that to change so quickly was just wild to me.
And you don't need to say the word abortion. You can just bring it up as choices.
Yes, you can talk around it, which plenty of shows have done in the past. And I don't know, just that really frustrated me. You said, that they didn't even, it was just oh, we're going to be parents.
I thought that was just such a disservice to the storyline, and they really messed that up, in my opinion. I was very annoyed about that. But I did enjoy the storyline.
I agree. I hear you. And I think if you're going to make her pregnant, storyline wise, it's more interesting for them for her to be pregnant in the middle of all this chaos, for them to think about the future and the baby. I think from a narrative perspective, and where the story is going to end up, it makes more sense. But we could have still had the conversation.
I think that when the storyline was brought up and they didn't mention anything about choices or anything like that, I was so annoyed. I was like, I'm going to hate this. Why are we doing this? We don't need this. There's so much drama going on. But I feel like I ended up not hating it as much as I thought I would because I feel like at least we have one relationship moving forward in this show. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I like relationships on these shows, you know?
Yeah.
We like shipping. We like seeing, like, two people really grow together and seeing, like, how they handle it. And this show puts relationships a lot on the back burner. So I was excited that we were at least getting one of these relationships to like move forward and have something happen and some of the drama be around that.
Yeah, we need a progression. Like they've been
Yeah.
together for 2 years at this point. They've been through some crazy stuff. Like we need to see their relationship growing.
Yeah.
And the other two relationships, we don't really get that. They're just sort of where they were at the end of season 3. Yeah, but I do think it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. And I also think like this is a conversation that John B and JJ have where he's like, what do you know about being a father? And he's like, nothing, but I'm going to be a good dad. And I think so much of this show is about parents and children.
Yeah.
And how they have these terrible parents, but they're trying to be better people and they're trying to make a family with each other. And so I can see how this is like an extension of that. Like we had bad dads and no moms, but we're going to be a family for this kid.
Not a single mom. I was like, please have JJ's mom still be alive.
Nope.
Please give me a mom. And nope, we see full dead body.
That was horrifying. I was shocked that they did that, but I was like, okay, she's dead.
I feel like they wanted to drive home. There is not a mom in this show.
No. But for that reason, I think this is it's a storyline that I'm interested in seeing, you know, where it ends up in season 5.
I do like the symbolism of, you know, that we want to break the cycle of like being a bad dad.
Yeah, bad.
So I appreciated that. I thought that scene with John B and JJ talking about it was a really good scene. And I like that they like acknowledge that. I felt like this season, there is like a lot more callbacks and like symbolism and like thinking things through, I felt like, than what we've gotten in previous seasons. Like it's not just about the treasure. It's not just about this blue crown. It's about their friendships more so. And like, I think that just, and relationships and where we're going in life. And I just thought that was interesting. And I'm glad that they did that this season, which goes along with what I was saying about like them growing up and getting older. And I just feel like they did a good job of that this season. And that's something I've wanted with this show. Mm-hmm. And we're finally getting it.
Yeah.
So
Agreed. Another major development we had, we get a lot more of Rafe this season.
Love it. That's what we want to see. I have fully forgiven him.
Same. And
I don't want to hear anything about Sheriff Pinkerton.
Peterkin.
What was her name?
Peterkin.
Peterkin. I don't want to hear a word about it. That was like 5 years ago of when that aired, and we need to move on. I fully moved on. We're done with it. We love Rafe. Let's just accept it.
Anytime Rafe did something with that bad haircut, it's a different man.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, ooh, keep doing it, Rafe.
I hear you though. So Rafe is like, he's trying to like turn his life around. He's a real estate guy. Before he goes to Morocco, he proposes to Sophia with a ring, with a family ring that was his mom's. And I'm like, tell us more about the mom.
I was like, give me the mom. Who is your mom? Like, I hope we get something about that next season.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I know. I was like screaming about it. I was like, a reference to the mom,
I was
finally. Dying. And is it JJ's mom? Yeah, that proposal scene, I like that scene.
I was like, oh my God. I was like little like not flustered, but I was like, oh, this is so cute. And like, he's so sincere. He's like, I want like this to be our home. And like, this is for us. And like all these, like all the lovely things that you like want to hear, I guess, during a proposal. And Rafe says them. And I was like, look at this man.
I know. I was like melting during that scene. And he's just so intense that there is just like this quality to him where you're just like on the edge of your seat, like anytime he's in a scene. And even in this more like romantic proposal scene, you're like, this is just so intense though. Like, where is this going? Like, you're so much. But I could not look away.
So I really loved Rafe this season. I liked that he was trying to like grow up as well.
Yeah.
And like make a family with Sophia. And also like, you know, he tries to like get Sarah back. The scene, him and Sarah finally sort of take steps to repair their relationship at the very
Yes.
end, which was, very important, I think, for the characters and for like us to see that like there's still love there.
Yeah, I really loved that scene of them two hugging. Well, first I love the scene where Sarah saves Rafe.
Yes.
And I love that they did it in a way where we start to see Sarah, we just see her like glancing at Rafe. Mm-hmm. It's done very subtly where she's kind of like looking over at him, and we see she's kind of like contemplating and doesn't know really what to do about the situation. So I like that it's built up in that subtle way. Mm-hmm. And then just with that line, like, he's my brother, and she saves him. Mm-hmm. And it just was like, I loved it. It was such a great line. Like, I feel like she just like killed that scene. Mm-hmm. And then, we see them reunite and hug, and it's so emotional. And it just feels like, we're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think, too, a part of it is that at this point, we all know that she's pregnant, and she's probably thinking, like, I don't have family.
Yeah.
Like, Rafe is the only other family that she has. And so she wants to, despite all the terrible things he's done to her, she wants to, like, move forward with that and try to rebuild that, like, for her kid, like, all of this. And I think you see that with him, too, where he's, like, trying to build this family, to start anew, and they sort of want to hit the reset button a little bit and be like, we're all each other has. We have to fix this.
Uncle Rafe.
Oh, cute.
And they're also, though, on the same mission. Like, they're both out to get Groff this time. Mm-hmm. Like, I like that we had Rafe and the Pogues on the same side this time. It was fun to see them, fighting together instead of against each other.
Yeah, and I think what I appreciate about that, too, is that Rafe is remarkably clear-headed here. Like, when he hears about, they're like, oh, JJ killed Hollis, and he's like, no, JJ wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, even though he doesn't like JJ, he's like, he knows better. Yeah. And he says all that to Shoop when he figures out the whole thing that Shoop figured out before the Pogues did, and he's explaining it, and Rafe's like, no, like, you and I both know the Pogues didn't do this. Like, it was all Groff. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like, he's thinking it through. Like, I love that.
Rafe is the one that gets them to Morocco. Mm-hmm. Like, Rafe is the one who gets, convinces Shoop to let them go, which is like crazy.
Yeah, that scene was like, wild,
Shoop,
but I was like,
come on, buddy. Like, what are you doing?
He's got beauty and brains.
I know. It's like, I cannot stop smiling about Rafe. Like, as we're talking about him, I am just like giddy over here. Like, he saved the day again. I did like, though, this season that even though we got Rafe onto the same side as the Pogues, I like that we got a lot of Pogues versus Kooks. Like, I like that about this show. It's very, over dramatized, but in a fun way. And I just feel like that's how this show started. So I love it when it's like Pogues versus Kooks, like so dramatic. So like Jets versus Sharks. We're about to go dance it out in the streets.
It literally does feel like that. I'm thinking especially when John B. and Sarah, they go to the courthouse or whatever to get married, and then the Kooks show up with like baseball bats and crowbars. It's like
so over dramatized, but I love it. I think that I love kind of that, like, they go there with it.
Yeah.
I just think that is like a big part of the show, and we kind of lost that in some of these seasons. So it is like so ridiculous. And like these grown-up Kooks hating on these kids.
Yeah.
It's like so much.
Like mustache twirling, thinking about how to steal their land.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, I guess, of all of season 4 is this idea that the cut's going to become the new figure 8, that they want to drive out everybody in the cut and take their land and make it a figure 8 so that they can all get wealthier. It's classic gentrification, but it's so like sinister and over the top that we're like, yeah, like this is fun drama.
Like the extras in that courthouse scene were like really going for it. I was like, oh my God. Everyone needs to go watch that back and just look at the extras in the background. They are doing the most.
Well, like when Topper's like, yeah, it'll be a club for us all, right, everybody? And he like turns to the crowd and they're like, yeah, Topper. Like, it's like, so...
I feel like it was like what we predicted the town council episode to be.
Oh my God, you're
Remember?
right.
Like, yeah.
I love the like courthouse town council. Like, it reminds me, I feel like it's very Boo Radley.
Oh wow,
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Dark, but okay.
Yeah, like I feel like it's like this like 1940s
Yeah.
courthouse.
I thought you were gonna take it lighter and be like, it's similar to Gilmore Girls, where like everyone shows up to the town meeting, but that's a different tone.
Yeah, I feel like these are just so much darker,
Yeah.
like town council meetings.
Because really, who has the time?
I mean, we have to talk about JJ's after that town meeting and that scene. I mean, that sequence of him like getting in the fight and then getting up and like the music playing, like the way they did that was so cool. I loved it.
I loved it. It's such a departure from everything we've seen on this show. Like, it starts with like the slow-mo of JJ and it's like blurry in the background, and then it's like all on him. The way they shot it is different.
Oh
like
my
the
God,
camera
yeah.
angles, the way it moves is different, and then even the lighting changes when he's like walking down the street. Like, we see like this like bright like blue behind him, and as opposed to like this orange tone that like tends to wash over everything on this show. Like, we see him clearly. He's like talking to himself but kind of to the camera. The music is like over the top.
Yeah.
It was like very like cinematic and campy, but in a way that I loved.
I loved it. I thought it was so cool. And like just the way they shot it of like kind of like shooting like up at him more was so cool. And I think that it left so much more of an impression than if they just shot it normally of him like banging down these windows and causing all this destruction. And it just really showed how much he's spiraling.
Yeah, like I think the fact that we stay with him on this spiral for like something like 5 minutes, like
Yeah.
it travels from the courthouse, he's running, he's walking down the street, he goes into the real estate guy's like house and like sets a fire, and it felt like that was like, okay, this is a clear departure from everything that's been before, and like setting the tone of like, this is the path in the story that we're going to follow moving forward. Is that like, this is about like JJ's spiral, how do we get out of this, what happens to him.
And it just really showed like this season is his story. Like
Yeah.
he's the main character now.
Yeah
He's
I
the
mean,
captain now, John B.
Yeah, I mean, we got that at the end of part 1, but I think
Yeah.
this was very clear, like it's about JJ from here on out.
And it's like you're watching that scene and you're like, okay, maybe let's stop
Right?
hitting every window that you see. Like, you want to just be like, JJ, stop, please. Like, okay, you hit one window. Let's tone it down now. And he does
Right.
not stop.
No, he like starts like resisting arrest.
Yeah.
And then runs off, grabs steals a baseball bat from like a child.
Yeah.
And is breaking windows.
I love that they were like, JJ, give that back. I'm like, everybody knows JJ.
Exactly.
It's so funny.
Oh my god.
And I just feel like from there on, like this season did not stop. Like once we got to like that scene, it was just like go, go, go. And I feel like it kind of changed everything.
We got back to the running.
We
did.
I know.
So
I was
much
like,
running.
here we go again. Run, run, run. We're all on the run from the law yet again. Running from Shoop. I gotta say though, these Pogues are pretty smart. Like JJ escaping that real estate office. I was like, I mean, he's got these cops beat. Good for him.
Yeah. Well, there is a scene where he's with Groff and he's like, you get that instinct from me.
Yeah.
Which is like that sort of scrappy, like, you know, he says, oh, we both talk fast when we lie. And it's like that fact that he's always thinking about like, how do I get out of this? How do I use this to my advantage? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. And they are smart. Key knows where to find JJ later on too. Like they're all like, they're thinking 5 steps ahead of the cops.
I know. They're smart. With JJ and Groff, I did like that they kind of had some scenes where they're like, look how similar they are. Like they're both like running their hands through their hair. I enjoyed that. I honestly would have even liked more of that.
Yeah, and I think I read too that they wrote some of those in, but then as they were shooting, they just found things that they both did naturally, and they're like, oh, let's add that, like the tapping on the roof of the Twinkie when they're like driving and listening to that song.
Oh, that's cool. I did like that scene of them together. I mean, look, I hate Groff. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But like, I like that we had those scenes with them together. Because at first I was like, oh my God, is this guy never going to admit he's his dad? Like,
Well, I thought that they did that to like prove that it's definitely JJ's dad, because I still had like a bit of doubt in my head.
Yeah.
And then when I saw a couple of those things, I was like, okay, they're saying like, no, guys, this is it. Like, no more
I thought
twists.
the same thing. I go, wait, maybe he's not the dad. And you know what I thought? You guys are going to laugh at me.
I can't wait.
I thought Shoop could be the dad.
Yeah, because you had that theory from part 1.
I had that theory that I thought Shoop was somehow like involved in the backstory of JJ and Luke and Groff, because he mentioned that he knew Larissa, JJ's mom.
Right.
And I was like, I just feel like that's not a throwaway comment.
I
and
mean,
I was
it
like,
still-
Shoop could be the dad. And he feels protective of JJ.
I feel like there still could be something we don't know
Yeah.
about his involvement, but it's not that he's JJ's blood dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just want one good dad in this show. So I'm
Honestly.
like, Shoop doesn't seem like a bad guy.
No, he's not. He's just trying to do his job. You know what I mean? And every time the Pogues get into trouble, he's like, why'd you, like, he's frustrated with
Yeah.
them. It's never like, you're terrible. It's like, why do you keep doing this to yourselves? He says to them, you really keep digging yourselves in deeper. You got to stop.
Yeah, I was like, okay, they're really driving home that like these two are biological father and son. Like, move on from your other theories. But you know me. I gotta always be thinking, we don't know. Show me the DNA test.
I mean, we've just watched too many of these shows. We know too much,
Yeah.
and we can see these things coming for better or for worse.
I
So.
feel like if this was a show that was 22 episodes and went on for like 10 seasons, like it would not, like, it's like,
Sure.
it wouldn't be the first dad you see.
Right.
But you know, they have a little bit more of a plan in Outer Banks. JJ though, I feel like went on such kind of a destructive path this season. I mean, he went through a lot, but then we see him really like fall out on the way to Morocco, and he was pissing me off.
Oh yeah, he is such an asshole the whole
Yeah.
time, and they're all like, "We know that you're sad and this is shitty for you," but Pope's like, "I'm a fugitive too now." Like, you know what I mean? Like, this sucks, but like, come, like, we're here for you. We're here because of you. Like, you need to like get over it and act like you're our friend.
Yeah, I mean, I felt for him in the sense of like, okay, this is a lot to deal with at once. Like, his dad has already tried to kill him, and like leave him for dead in the water there. And I mean, it's like I wanted the Pogues to rally around him a little bit more of like, I know we have this mission, we're trying to get this blue crown, but let's check in on him. Let's see how he's doing. Like, Key, I'm sorry, what are you doing?
Right?
Like, she has no problem like telling Rafe what to do. And I'm like, why are you not like there for JJ more in this moment?
Right. Like, I get that he was behaving horribly, but like, you all can understand why he's acting like that. Like, maybe ask him, like, how are you doing?
I know.
How are you feeling? What do you think? Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe, and like, even if he says like, I don't want to talk about it or whatever he says, but like, you could try to check in on him as opposed to just being like, here we are. It's your fault. We're in this mess. Like, when they said that, I'm like, not the time, John B. You did not need to bring that up, even if it is true.
I did like that we had that moment though with John B and JJ of him, I think, trying to more do that in that moment. And I mean, it didn't work, but I love those two having scenes together. I love it so much. Like, I just feel like the two of them on screen have like really good friendship chemistry too.
And he says, you know, you're the closest thing to a brother I've ever had. And,
Yeah.
And he's like, says that to try and get through to him. And JJ is just not wanting to hear it. He's just in full self-destruct mode.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, at the same time, that does lead to his redemption.
Definitely.
When we get the big storm.
The big storm. I mean, wow, that was crazy.
That was scary.
I was like, oh, is this where somebody dies? Like,
Yeah, so they're on the boat to Morocco. They hit a huge storm. The boat is like rocking back and forth. Things are falling off the shelves. They're trying to batten down the hatches. And JJ's just like, I'm going to go get drunk, and like ignores them. And then Sarah falls into the water.
I mean, just stay put, girlie. Stay
Right?
put. Stay put. What are you doing?
Well, I guess, right, because John B is like knocked out by some debris or some shit. So she's like,
Yeah.
I gotta go check on John B. Which, like, why wouldn't Pope go? Like, no, like, not to be like women can't do things, but I'm like, babe,
You're pregnant,
girl.
girl.
Babe. Like,
And you want this baby.
right? Like, send the man out there to check on John B. Like,
Yeah.
not to be,
I know what you mean.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But she falls in the water, and JJ, without hesitation, jumps in to save her.
I love that moment.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, siblings saving sibling. No, just kidding. I'm like, that's so nice he went in there to save his sister. No, I love that moment. I love that JJ went in to save her. I love those moments in Outer Banks where it is like, I'm going through something, but my friend needs me.
Yeah.
And I need to go and save her, and I'm not even going to think twice about it.
Right. And it's so JJ. Like, he's
Yeah.
the most likely of them to jump in without hesitation. The rest of them would be like, oh, I need to, like, what's the best tactic? Like, should I get help? And JJ's just like, nope, dives in the water.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they wash up on the shore just fine. And as Sarah says, JJ saved my life. And I'm like, okay, cool. Great.
I love that moment.
Yeah.
That reunion with John B and Sarah. I mean, the chemistry between them this season was really great. I loved it. I feel like they were like, okay, we're doing this pregnancy storyline. We got to step it up.
Right.
And they did. Like,
I fully believe that, like, that connection.
yeah, 100%. And like, good for them. Like, they dated in real life. It didn't work out. But they did not lose the chemistry on screen. And I think that happens a lot between people when they break up. Chad Michael Murray, Sophia Bush, for sure. Sorry. You can see the chemistry change in season 3 of One Tree Hill. And I'm just so happy that it didn't with the two of them. And I love that you can tell that I think that there's just a lot of like care that they put into like that relationship and showing it on screen. And I appreciate that as a viewer.
I agree. Yeah. That reunion between the two of them is great. And as we said, when John B hugs JJ to thank him, JJ's like, oh, you know, I was just the closest one. And he hugs him and he's like, you are my brother. Like, they're both crying. It's good. It's so good.
Well, then I was mad that we didn't get like a reunion shot with JJ and Key. Then I was so confused about that. Like, I'm sorry, Giara was not doing it for me in part 2. I thought they had some really cute moments in part 1. I was excited about them in this relationship. I was excited to see her helping him through these daddy issues and finding out about his real family. And we did not get a lick of that.
No. JJ's just angry and on his own most of the time. Key is not really checking on him at all. She's just like more worried about Sarah most of the time than she is about JJ, her boyfriend. Like,
I just like, I'm not even like buying the relationship really at this point. Like, I feel like the two of them, like, if you didn't know that they were dating, you would have just thought they were like good friends. Like, when he goes off with Groff and she's like, be careful, they do a handshake. Give me a kiss for like, I'm about to curse. I'm so mad. And I don't want this to be explicit, but I'm about to get explicit because it's just bizarre to me. Like, we built this relationship up for seasons and we finally get it. And I was very excited to see JJ in love. This is a character who loves his friends so fiercely. That's his family. He cares about them the most. He dives in for his friend's girlfriend. Like, risks his life for them all the time. So I thought, oh my God, this is going to be so fun to see him in a relationship where we'll get him like risking it all for Key and just to see him, to bring that other like layer to him. And we didn't get that. And I just thought that was so bizarre because I thought it was not true to the character, honestly.
Yeah, we get more of that all through season 3. Like, I think the strongest we get between the two of them is in season 3 when he is constantly worried about her, constantly going to save her, to rescue her, all of this. We finally get one kiss in season 3 and an I love you. And then it's just like, well, now that they're together, the chemistry is gone and they're just like back to like season 1 status.
They're literally acting like they're in middle school. Like, it's all handshaking and hugging. It's like bizarre.
Well, even like casually, like when they're in part 1, when they're walking on the pier and she's like, we haven't had a date. And I'm like, I get that you're like teenagers or whatever, but like the two of you didn't like go out to dinner once, just the two of you in the year and a half you've been a couple. Like, that's crazy to me.
Claire's like, I want to see them go to an Italian dinner. Share some pasta.
I mean, listen, he could have taken her to get a snow cone on the pier at any point in time during that, 18 months or whatever. Like, I wonder if it's that thing of like that happens on shows sometimes where the buildup is so good that once you put characters together, it loses like the magic, because that can happen with couples on TV shows.
Well, I think that there was a lot going on here. I mean, I do think that maybe that's what happened. I think what's confusing, though, about this relationship is that Giara started, and they have said this on the show, like it started because like fans started shipping them together. And like the editors picked out parts of when they were in the background of a scene and like hugging or goofing off together, like these two characters. So then fans really started to love it and were like, they should get together. And then they did that in the show. And then just like, I feel like maybe didn't want to like follow through on it. I don't know. There's a lot of theories out there of just like the Rudy and like Madison drama of them being like very good friends, always in photos together, always like goofing around on set, and them really wanting their characters to get together. And then it appears now, allegedly, I don't know, that they're not as close. Yeah. Maybe this is a thing of like fans ship them too hard and then ship them together in real life. I don't know. They're both with other people. And it seems like there's some drama there as well. So I don't know if it's like just either the two of them like did not really want to bring that chemistry in this part too, or what happened, but it just feels like something happened.
Yeah. And it feels, I guess, either that the writers made a choice or that they responded to something that was happening in real life. They're like, things are awkward, so let's not give them as many scenes together. I don't know.
I wonder if that happened too, but that makes me so mad.
Yeah.
Like, we are all so invested in this show and these characters. We wait a year for it to come out, and it's like, just write some cutesy scenes with them. That's why we like these shows.
There was so much potential there. People wanted it for so long, and it was such a great moment at the end of season 3 when they finally like acknowledge it, and then it's just like kind of a nothing burger in season 4. It's a bummer.
Didn't they have like doubles for the cuddling scene?
Okay, so this is the scene, where they're around the fire after JJ and Sarah Cameron come back, and we're hoping for this big reunion scene, I feel like, with JJ and Key. And we don't get it. And then we just see her laying on him by the fire. But it's a close-up shot of her and then a close-up shot of him. And you don't see them in the scene together. And it appears they are not in the scene together, and that there is like a double that is being used.
There's just no reason to do that unless you have some sort of beef off camera.
It seems like something is definitely going on.
Yeah. And not just like we broke up, but we're still cool. It's like there's animosity between the two of them, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, something is obviously going on. When I saw that, I was like, they clearly are not laying on each other. Like, because I just feel like this happens quite a bit, actually. And people think that, like, we don't notice this stuff, and we do. Because it's like, we obviously want to see them laying on each other. We're invested in this relationship, and you didn't give us a reunion when he saved Sarah. Like, we didn't get a scene with them, too, which is so weird. So it feels like, something happened with those two actors, and that the writers also just kind of like wrote it that way.
Yeah, and it is something too that in the press tour for both parts, they do this, so it's hard to say if it's like because of them, but like they very much split up the guys and the girls. Yeah. Like it's always like the girls are together, the guys are together, or it's like everybody together, or it's like random groupings that aren't dating on the show. It's like Topper and Pope and Cleo or something like it. So it's hard to, I think they're trying to make it so that we can't read into it because they're not putting them together in those situations in the first place.
I look forward to a tell-all a few years from now. That guy who plays Topper, he's gonna do a podcast one day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I look forward to that. Yeah.
Austin North, if you're listening.
Yeah. Please come on and tell us
Yeah.
about the drama. Like, we just want to know. I just feel like they're fueling it even more with like doing stuff like this. Like, if you like, your audience is smarter than what you think.
Oh,
So, yeah. So that was a huge letdown, especially with the ending.
So we
need to get into
We got to
it.
talk about the ending. I mean, we've spoiled a lot at this point, but if for some reason you haven't watched the final,
everywhere.
It's everywhere. But if you haven't watched the final episode, just know we're talking about the ending. They make it to Morocco. There's this incredible sequence, this long sequence where they're searching for the crown.
Sandstorm, big sandstorm.
You know, they're running through these, I don't know, ruins, this whatever it is, this
Yeah.
structure, the sandstorm. It's really cinematic, I will say. Like even like the music is like John Williams-esque. I think like
there's like a
feels
score actually.
Yeah, there's a full score.
Yeah.
It feels like Indiana Jones. Like it feels like really, really well done.
Yeah.
JJ gets the crown. He comes back down to Key. They're celebrating. They're so happy. They run to find the others. They get separated. Groff appears out of nowhere, grabs Key, and is like, "Give me the crown, and I'll give you Key." And JJ says, "That's fine. I already have everything I've ever wanted." It's such a sweet moment because that's what they've been talking about, like what, you know, all these things that he wanted. He's like, "I've got what I need." Gives the crown. Key hugs him, and then Groff says, "You know, you should have given me the rope," and stabs and kills his own son.
Whew. Oh my God. What a brutal death. I did not think they were going to go there. I mean, it was spoiled for me before I watched it.
same.
Or I saw something where I was like, oh God, it seems like they're killing him off. So then the entire time I'm watching this, like, how are they going to do it? And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so annoying if he just falls from this structure trying to get the crown and that's how he goes.
Oh, he deserves better than that.
But I couldn't believe his dad did this. I mean, brutal. God, it was. So I was still shocked.
Okay,
I was still shocked. Like, I didn't think in that moment that's what was going to happen.
well, that's good storytelling then.
Yeah.
Because I think earlier when he doesn't necessarily try to kill JJ on the boat, but they're fighting.
Yeah.
JJ gets hit and goes into the water, and Groff doesn't save him. So that's more of a like, you're in my way, get out of my way. In this moment, he has the crown. He can just walk away and leave the two of them there, and he chooses to kill JJ out of spite, out of like revenge.
Yeah.
And in my head, I knew this was coming too, and I knew that Groff was the one that killed him.
Oh, wow.
I knew-
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry.
But I thought it was going to be something like about the inheritance. Like I thought it was going to be like because he says to Hollis earlier on in the season, "I'm the last gen Rhett. It all goes to me."
That's what I thought this was all about, too.
I thought it was going to be like, well, I have to get rid of the last remaining
Yeah.
heir so that I'm the only heir. Like I thought it was going to be like an inheritance thing. And no, it's worse than that. He does it because he's pissed.
I know. I was like, oh, so he's just full sociopath. Like,
Right.
the inheritance thing to me would have made more sense. And I was mad we weren't going there because I was like, this must be why he's doing all of
But
this.
it turns out the whole inheritance is a red herring because
Yeah.
the will leaves the money to like a nature preserve.
Right.
Or it makes, you know, so like the whole Goat Island thing is all just like it doesn't really have any effect on the final outcome.
I mean, I cannot believe they killed off the most beloved character on this show. Like, shocking. I don't think a show has ever done this
No.
before. I mean, we did say, I've been saying there was going to be a death.
And we said that
I was
JJ would
saying.
make the most sense. We said we didn't want it, but we thought his death would make the most sense storyline wise.
But I definitely did not think they were going to do it.
No, I didn't either.
I mean, it was shocking. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little less interested in season 5 now.
I still am because I feel like it's going to be so much centered around not justice, but vengeance for JJ.
Yeah. I do like that. I also think one silver lining of this is I feel like Rafe is in the group and on this revenge plot with them as well. And I do feel like Rafe and JJ are somewhat similar characters.
Yeah.
Like they're little two sides of the same coin. So I do feel like we will get more Rafe in season 5, and he can kind of fill that JJ void a little bit. I mean, look, no one is like JJ, but I think we'll get more of him, which I'm excited about.
I think so too. And I think it's easier in a way to have him be in this group because even though he like arguably did worse things to Pope and Sarah, JJ was sort of the most antagonistic towards Rafe.
Yeah.
You know, he punches him in the face when they're on the boat. And so I think that like without JJ there, that path toward reconciliation and like redemption is easier.
Well, and they're going to want Rafe on their side. Rafe's a killer.
Yeah.
Like, Rafe will go and get this job done.
He literally says that to them. He's like, I'm going to cause a distraction. Don't worry. He says like, I'm a killer. It's fine.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So I think that will be very interesting to see. Mm-hmm. But I'm still in shock that he is dead.
I am
bereft. No question about it.
Right. And we've had some fake deaths on the show, but as we've said, there's no body, no crime. We saw the body. We see him like bleed out, go pale. Like it's upsetting. It's really sad.
It's really brutal to watch. And then they did that like flashback of him on the show. It was so good. And John B's narration.
Yeah.
And just of how good of a friend he is. They really hit you where it hurts.
They do. And I think it's interesting. I wonder if producer Jesse, you got any of this. When watching it knowing that he's going to die, like so much of it is like building towards this conclusion that I think they did a good job of making it seem almost inevitable. Because like if he had gone through all of this only to be like, oh, I'm good, I saved Sarah and everything's fine now, it would have felt like a little like unearned to me.
Yeah, I get what you mean about that.
Yeah. So I mean, like, again, not thrilled that they did it, but like I think that they did a good job of like setting it up, really showcasing him as an actor and a character so that we got like so much more of him in those episodes that it was like, okay, like it makes sense.
I'm glad that we got a JJ season before they killed him off.
I thought that it was pretty cruel the way that they though did the whole season of him like struggling, being like an alcoholic basically. And like you really do think like he's gonna make a stupid mistake that's going to be what kills him basically. Or like he's going to get to a very dark place. But like he basically like comes all the way back around and finally is like being a good person and a good friend and making the right choices. And then that's when it's like, oh, just kidding. Bye.
Yeah. I know. I felt like maybe I wanted more wrapped up with his story a little bit. I feel like there were still just so many questions of like his family and where will he go from here? I mean, it's just already like such a devastating loss that your dad is a sociopath like and left you like in this water. And then we don't even get like revenge on the dad at all. Like it just felt like, it was just sad. It just makes it sadder, honestly. It's like such a tragic character, I think.
Yeah, I think, and I liked it because of that. Like, I feel like they did a good job of making it more impactful for that reason. So I guess you don't like that because it's sadder, and I do like it because it's sadder. I don't know, in a way.
I get what you mean. It makes it like a better story.
Yeah, I think
instead of kind of taking the easy way out of like, oh, he died saving Sarah.
Yeah, like that's
like he died going out on top. Like
it's more of a gut punch if it's his father that murders him when there's no reason to.
It just felt like against what this show usually does.
Yeah,
like if that makes sense. Like they actually did do it. Like they really did kill him, and it usually never does that. I don't know.
But I think I kind of like it for that reason because I feel like they're adults now and there are real consequences now, and like. You know, you can't just like they don't have 9 lives as it turns out. They can't just keep like miraculously surviving hurricanes and things like that. Like eventually, like at one point, literally, Key says, you know, one day your luck's gonna run out to JJ when they're in Morocco, and like this is the moment when it does, and like so that was just like it was a tough foreshadowing.
Well, I mean, couldn't we have killed Cleo? You know,
poor girl.
Still not happy about it. Well, the creators came out and said that this was their plan all along. that they had always planned to kill off JJ. They didn't know when, and then they felt like this was the time. Do we believe that?
Producer Jessie's shaking her head. She does not believe it.
I mean,
I say no.
yeah.
I mean, I think it goes back to the whatever drama is happening off screen.
Yeah.
I believe the theory that JJ didn't want to do, or that, what's his name? Rudy didn't want to do season 5, and then they had to write him out quickly, basically, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because of the drama with Madison, but I think he didn't agree to do season 5, and then they had to figure out a way to write him out before the end of the season. But that's just how I think it is. But
I think there's a little truth to all of it. I definitely thought they were going to kill somebody off this season. Like, it just felt like it was time for something like that, and to kind of like move things forward and have it be a different season. So I wouldn't be shocked if they plan to kill somebody off this season. Do I think that maybe they chose JJ a little bit because of like problems with Rudy or something, or he wanted to leave, and he maybe voiced that a little bit? Yeah, I think it's like all a little bit true. I think that it definitely seemed like he was a little bit more distant and maybe potentially could have just wanted to leave or be done. They brought him this storyline of, we want to kill JJ off this season, and he was just like all a go for it, potentially. I don't know. I mean, we'll never know, really.
I just don't buy that their plan all along was to kill off like one of the most beloved characters.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't
know.
make sense for the show, because as we're seeing now, the backlash of the fans like being like, we're not even going to watch season 5. I mean, I don't believe that. We're all going to watch it.
Yeah.
But I think the backlash shows that like, if that was their choice the whole time, that's not a smart choice from a writer's perspective. But that's just how I see it. I don't know.
I think it's more to like, you killed off one of the most interesting characters, and you gave him all this storyline, and so it just kind of feels like, why would you kill off one of the more interesting ones? Like, what are we really going to learn more about Cleo? Like, it's just kind of...
So the writers have said that she's going to get a lot more to do in season 5. Apparently, we're going to learn more about Cleo.
I just think, though, there was just so much to JJ that it feels like, as a writer, why would you want to kill off somebody that you can do so much with?
I hear that. I feel like, and this is something I think about with watching soap operas. This is actually happening on a soap that I love right now. They killed a long-time character, a long-time fan favorite character. And I hate it, and I'm pissed about it. But it gives all the other characters that she was connected to so much more to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that, like, it's like a cost-benefit analysis thing. Like, this sucks, but it will make season 5, which is, as we know, is the last season, more interesting, because there's a different motivator for them to be going after Groff other than just treasure. We don't want to be poor. It's like, we need to avenge our friend. It's, you know, it adds like resonance to, it makes Kiara more interesting. It gives Pope something else to do, to fight for his friend. You know, John B and Sarah have the baby that like is going to be named JJ, of course.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be something that like, I think it gives them all more to do.
Yeah, it is like what we said. It's like, it leaves the biggest mark.
Yeah.
And everyone is affected by his death because he was everyone's friend. So I think that is like an exciting part to it, of like, wow, what is going to happen next? How is this going to affect everybody? How are people going to be acting? Like, it's going to be really interesting. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that they had this plan the entire time. Like, I'm sorry. Like, there's just, like, no way. Or I'm sure, like, somebody was like, you cannot kill him off yet. Like, but I don't know. It is interesting for the storyline. So I don't think that it was like Rudy said he had to leave the show. I don't know.
I think.
Do you believe that? Wow.
I think that they probably, and I feel like this has happened on other teen shows, they had an idea that like he's gonna have to die at some point. like for their end storyline purposes. And he seems the most likely because he's the most likely to crash out at any given moment. But seeing the fan response to him, they're like, well, we can't kill him yet. Like maybe that like bought him some time. And eventually, now that they know that they're heading into the 5th and final season, they're like, okay, now is the moment when it's time to let him go, to kill this character. And also, like, maybe him wanting to leave or him needing to leave or whatever played into that timing as well. But I do kind of believe, or I think it's plausible, that they had this idea in the back of their mind that they would kill him off eventually. But, like, I don't know, like, maybe if, like, he was getting along better with the cast, or if he was happier there, maybe they would have made it somebody else that died. I don't know.
I do agree that I wouldn't be shocked if they had this, like, they probably have run through killing off everybody. Like, it is like, they're writers, you know? They probably have run through the scenario of killing off everybody and was like, well, the JJ thing would have the most effect on everyone. We can't kill off John B. Like, the story is literally about John B. I don't know where I'm going with this. We don't know. We don't know what happened fully.
We'll probably never know.
I think two things can be true. I think that they can have wanted to kill off this character, and maybe Rudy wasn't the happiest at the show right now and wanted to leave too. So it was just good timing for it, and it worked out well for people working on the show and for the story. Either way, we have, no matter what happened, JJ is dead. How do we think the show will move forward? Like, what do we think is going to happen in season 5?
Well, I think they do a pretty good job of teeing it up at the end of season 4, where, you know, Rafe says Groff's taking the crown to Lisbon to sell it. And he says, you know, if it were my friend, I'd want to go after the guy that just killed him. And so they all sort of agree that, like, they're going to go after Groff. So I think we're going to see them in Lisbon. They're going to hunt down Groff. The interview with the creators said that Key is like the lead dog in this fight. Like, she's leading the charge there, but they're all like, we got to get vengeance and justice for JJ.
I'm excited for her to be at the forefront a little bit more. I think that will be exciting. And when Rafe was saying that, you know, I would want to get the guy who just killed my friend, and then Key's like, he's not wrong. And I was like,
you ran with that.
I was like, I need Key and Rafe to get together next season. I don't care if JJ just died. Like, those two have so much chemistry. And I love their relationship, and I just need it to happen. Like, it's the last season. Please just give me something of this.
It can even be, for me, I think it can even be like a Caroline and Klaus in the woods situation where she's like, I hate you and I could never be with you because you're terrible, but let's have sex in the woods.
Yeah,
like,
I'm all for that too. Like I'm down for
like
that.
She's sad and angry, and he's sad and angry because he learned Sophia betrayed him. Like, let's just bang it out for fun, you know?
And like, I kind of took it as like, Sophia's out. Like, that's what I thought. I took it as, we're done with Sophia. You're not in the next season.
You're probably
Collect
right.
your paycheck and go. Because it just seems so final. Like Rafe saying like, get out of my house. So I'm like, are we teeing up a Key Rafe thing? I would love it. I just want it to happen. I love that Key is the one who always gets through to Rafe. And I just feel like that's something we can't ignore.
I hear, and he definitely has a soft spot for her. He said as much. He says, you know, I don't trust the others, but you're different. Like, he, for whatever reason, is always, he's got a little thing for Key.
Yeah.
So
and I'm here for it.
I would love that. That would be sweet if him and Key got together, even briefly.
Again, it's just like, you know, we want this girl to change this guy.
Yeah, she can fix him.
It just never gets old. But their chemistry is on fire, I think.
For sure.
I mean, when they're in scenes together, it is good stuff. So just last season, just go for it, you know?
I hear you.
I don't need her mourning all season.
No,
okay?
no.
I mean, come on. What is she mourning? That handshake? Like, it's like, let somebody make out with her, please.
I was going to say, I feel like we've been over the Key JJ relationship for a little while because we didn't get much of it. So I think we've all moved on as fans already. So
yeah, definitely. I did think the scene with Key and JJ with the wish was cute. I like that. And then them bringing it back around when he died, I did like that. I thought that was a good scene. And I'm like, they do have something. Why didn't we get more of this? We needed like 5 more scenes of that.
we just don't get. They weren't giving it to us, but it's there
Yeah.
when they try. It's there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, should we move on to some as-ifs before we close out this episode? Thank you, everybody, for listening to us try and figure out in real time why they killed off JJ. You know, there was a lot to go through.
Yeah, we processed out loud.
There were a lot of emotions to process. All right, well, As Ifs is a part in the show where we rant about something from season 4, Outer Banks Part 2. We have 15 seconds. Claire, do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right. Timer beginning in 3, 2, 1, go.
The Kooks running around like vigilantes trying to find JJ in broad daylight. I'm sorry, as if they show up in a pickup truck with baseball bats and crowbars as if they have nothing better to do than to hunt down their like classmate who's allegedly a killer or whatever. Get a hobby.
Kooks, get a hobby. I love that. Put that on a t-shirt.
I mean, Topper needs something to do. So
They got nothing to do for Topper.
Is Topper going to be in season 5?
I hope just for the Kooks stuff.
I was kind of hoping like Topper would be with Rafe a little bit more, and I get like why they couldn't really do that, but
Rafe
I just
is
feel
abandoning the Kooks though. He's
I
like
know.
anti-Kook now.
He engaged to a Pogue,
love-
or he proposed. He engaged.
He was briefly
He
engaged.
proposed to a Pogue.
All right, Jill, are you ready for your as if?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, timer beginning in 3, 2, 1, go.
The Pogues trying to steal a boat in broad daylight in front of a ton of kooks and people, while half of them in the group are fugitives, as if. I mean, there were so many people around, and they're trying to steal $1 million boat. And that was crazy to me.
They also show up to steal that boat in a stolen police boat.
Yeah, I know. Like, it was just like there were so many people around. I was like, you guys need to come up with a new plan. Like what's happening here?
You couldn't like drop most of them off and like have John B go do it by himself. Like that's much less suspicious.
I also love the only way they thought to get to Morocco was by boat, like large boat.
We don't have planes in this universe.
Yeah. Well, they're fugitives. They can't use
that's
ID to
true.
get on a plane.
That's true. That's a good point. But yeah, that,
Yeah, no, that was insane.
That scene was wild. You gotta love it. This is why we love Outer Banks.
We do.
All right, well, that's it on Outer Banks for a bit, which I'm sad about, but I'm looking forward to season 5. Let's see what happens. We'll see what they do. It'll be interesting. But it has been fun rewatching all these seasons and binging season 4. What a season it was.
Yeah. If you want to relive with us, we have plenty of episodes about the previous seasons of Outer Banks, as well as season 4, part 1. You can find all of those wherever you get your podcasts. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, give us 5 stars. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at previously on _teen TV. Thanks for listening.